Hi, welcome to question 4 of the Leaving Cert Ordinary Level 2025 Paper 2. So we'll get stuck in, and this is a coordinate geometry question. So part A, we'll read through it, and as always, pause the video, give it a go, see can you get a strategy that might have success. So they give me this information. They say the point A has the coordinates -5 on the X, 3 on the Y, and B has the coordinates 2 on the X, 0 on the Y. So we know that this is along the x-axis, but they're showing us that. It is a fundamental thing that is often assessed with coordinate diagrams is that all along the x-axis, the value of y is 0. This is the line where y equals 0. And similarly, along the y-axis, the value of x is 0. So this is 0, 4, 0, 3. And where the line crosses the y-axis, I'm going to estimate that as 6/7, which will be useful later on in another part. Now, part 1 says, find the slope of the line AB. Now, there are two methods you could use for this, okay? One of them would be using the concept of rise over run, which is the slope. How much is this line changing in any period of time? And an interesting concept or idea about linear models is that the rate of change is constant. The slope is constant. And slope and rate of change are the same thing. Now, if we know what the rise is, now it's a negative rise, so it's going down by 3, okay, and it's going across by 7. So the rise is -3, the run is 7. That's our answer. Now, the other method you could use here is the kind of more classic method, which is the slope formula. If we know the coordinates of both points, we can work out the slope between them in a linear model. This equation only works for linear models. We have the process of differentiation for finding the slope at any point in a nonlinear model. It's an incredibly important technique and is part of calculus. So the A point we're given, okay, the first value is the X, so I'm going to call that X1. The second value, the 3, is, I'm going to call that Y1. We have the B value given, 2 is the X2, the second X, 0 is the second Y. All I have to do now is substitute the numbers inside the formula. So instead of Y2, I put 0. Instead of Y1, I put 3. Instead of X2, I put 2. Instead of X1, I put -5. Now I'm going to substitute it in brackets because this is going to change the sign and I might forget. I can put it to the calculator or work it out. 0 take away 3 is -3. 2 take away -7, -5 is the same thing as 2 plus 5, which is 7. We get the same answer. So either way is fine. Slope being as rise over run is probably quicker, but there's no, it's whatever method you think is best in the time. Now, part 2 says, hence, work out the equation of the line AB. Give your answer in the form AX plus BY plus C equals 0, where A, B, and C are elements of Z. Now, this just means that A, B, and C are going to be positive or negative whole numbers, and they wanted everything on one side, X being positive. Okay, so we'll deal with that when we get to the end. If you can't get to the end, that doesn't matter. So we're focusing on this. Work out the equation of the line. Now, with coordinate geometry, or really any question, you should have the math tables ready. If you look for that word in that section or just in the math tables in the first few pages, you'll be able to find this formula. Okay. Now, there are two methods for doing this. Okay. The point slope method, which will have this formula, or the slope intercept method, which will have a slightly different formula. Now, the classic way of doing this would be the point slope method. So we'll detail that first. For the point slope method, I need to know a point. Okay. Now, either point on the line. So I'm choosing 2, 0, but I could have chosen -5, 3, the A point. And I'm using the slope I found in part 1. That's where they get the hence. Okay. So once I know those two things, I can substitute them into the formula. Okay. The Y1 value goes in, the X1 value goes in, and then the slope value goes in here. And I'm using the letter M, and that's the classic way of denoting the slope. And I'm substituting that in. Now, if you stop there, you're going to score really well, okay? But we should simplify, and there's a classic way here that if you want to just do this quickly, you can multiply the 7 this way and the -3 this way. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. So 7 by y, sorry, actually I'm bringing the -7. -7 by y is -7y. -7 by -0 is 0, so we don't bother including that. Now, if I multiply the 3 this way, 3 by x is 3x. 3 times -2 is -6. Now, that's the answer, but they want everything on one side, okay, x being positive. I've done that here. Now, it looks kind of weird because the 0 is on the other side, but that's the exact same thing. Okay, left side equals right side. I could rewrite it if I want, as long as I don't make a mistake copying it across. Now, with the slope-intercept method, okay, it's a little trickier because we don't actually know what the y-intercept is. We have to estimate it, and the estimate I'm going to use is 6/7. And we use the formula y is equal to mx plus c. M is the slope, which we know. C is the y-intercept, which we're saying is 6/7. Okay, so I substitute those two numbers in. Now, they're fractions, so I need to get rid of the 7 on the bottom. You could do this by multiplying everything by 7. You'll end up with 7 times y is 7y. Now 7 times -3/7x, the 7 being multiplied cancels the one on bottom. We're left with -3x. 7 times 6/7, again the 7 on top and the 7 on bottom will cancel. We're left with 6. Now we need to do the same thing. We need to bring everything to one side and make x positive. And it kind of looks a bit done more quickly here because there's probably a little bit of work here. Bring the 7y across, then multiply by -1 to change all the signs because they want that to be positive. And that's part 2. Nice question in a way, but can be tricky. And I apologize for detailing 2 different methods, but this is good to have practiced so you're aware of this method in case that's the only viable method to be used in a different question. Now, part 3 says the value c, 4, 3, is a third point on the coordinate plane. So it's 4 on the x, 3 on the y. Work out the area of the triangle ABC. Okay, the hint, the point C is plotted in the diagram on the previous page. So they're creating this triangle, if I'm able to track it across. Okay. Now that would look like this. The AC value there is 9. Now I'm going to try use the simpler method here. We don't have any angles, so the area formula A is equal to half AB times sine C wouldn't work easily here. Wouldn't work here. The classic area formula, area is equal to half times the base by the perpendicular height. And we do know the perpendicular height because we can see here that it's 3 units down. So as long as you can make that leap, this question is fairly handy. Okay, that's our formula written more classically. The base is 9, the height is 3. Okay, that's half times 9 by 3, which is 13.5 square units. Any area is always a squared unit. And that's it. Now, part B says the lines L and K have the following equations. Now, we're not told what these are, okay, and we're not given a diagram of it. But I can tell with this one that the slope is 2/3. It goes up 2 units for every 3 it goes across, and it's positive, and it crosses the y-axis at -5. Now, the K line is a bit trickier. I'm not given it in the form of y is equal to mx plus c, so I need to be just a little bit more careful. I might need to rearrange this. It says, investigate if the lines L and K are parallel, in which case their slopes will be equal, perpendicular, which means their slopes, when multiplied by each other, give -1, or not. There's no similarity. Show workings to support your answer. Now, the answer is neither. Okay, so if I go ahead and find the slope of L, okay, I can see there that the slope of 2/3 corresponds to M. So that's the slope of L. If I continue on to K, it's a little bit trickier. I have to rearrange it to this format. 1y equals everything else. So I'm going to move the x across, okay, and the 7. Okay, so I end up with 3y is equal to -2x. 2x was added or positive on the left. It'll become the opposite on the right. Okay, the 7 was subtracted on the left. It'll be added on the right. Now we need to get rid of this 3. Okay, I want 1y equals everything else. So I'm going to bring the 3 across. It was multiplied on the left. It'll divide into everything on the right. Okay, so we end up with minus 2 over 3x plus 7 over 3. So the slope of k is negative 2 over 3. They kind of look connected, but they're not connected. And I can prove that using this. Multiply the two slopes by each other. If they equal negative 1, they are parallel. Sorry, perpendicular. If they were the same, they're parallel. But when I get 2 over 3 times negative 2 over 3, I get what? Negative 4 over 9. Okay, that does not equal 1, so it's neither. They are not parallel, they are not perpendicular, they are neither. And if you graph these two lines, you'll be able to see that. I didn't actually do that in the notes. Now, that's the end of question 4. So as always, if you want a copy of these notes, send me an email at shanetroy@gmail.com. Like and subscribe to get access to more playlists. Best of luck.